Alright, welcome everyone to the Challenge for Change panel discussion today. So this is a real conversation, a genuine voice from the streets of South London. And I want to get introductions for our topics and everything we're going to discuss today. So please introduce yourself, Michael, Chris and Russell, what it is that you do and where you come from.
Yes, my name's Michael. I'm the Gangs Intervention and Prevention Lead for Unique Talent. Basically my job is to kind of basically locate all the young people who are actively involved with gangs, find like a positive route for them, for change, and just basically work with them and help them kind of integrate back into society in a more positive way. I come from the local area, so I'm from Merton area, so I grew up in Mitcham, so my knowledge of the area is quite big. So I know the youths that have been growing up in a local town, know parents that have had children that have obviously got youths now that are growing up. So yeah, I'm able to work with them very closely.
All right, thank you. So go for it, Chris.
Yeah, man. Chris Douglas founded the company with my guys here, my brothers, 2015. The work started in 2012, so we've been going a long time. In the beginning, no one believed in us, no one trusted us, no one wanted to work with ex-offenders. So we labelled straight away, we was judged, and it was hard. We had to give up our old lifestyles, we had to stop certain things that were illegal, and we took sacrifice. But one of the things we agree on early stages is that we want to challenge for change. That's my brother Russ's slogan. I'm not going to tease that one. His slogan is hashtag is challenge for change. He wanted to be a positive member of the community. He wanted to make a difference in society, and we want to be positive role models and influences to the next generation of kids growing up. Now in South London, where we're from, too many kids in their circle of association have negative peers, negative elders, negative people in their life. There's not many positive people to steer them on the right path. And that's what Unique Talent's about. We're about rehabilitating young people, we're about reducing reoffending, and we're about giving people opportunities and a second chance. That's what we're about, that's what we stand for, and that's what we want to do. We want to change people's lives, challenge for change. I have come from the streets. I wasn't a big time gangbanger or a drug lord, but I got involved with certain things. And it's crazy because my intentions, if I wrote down my goals when I was on the streets, 1 would have been to buy a house and get my mum out of the hood, out of the council estate. 2 would have been to buy a nice car. 3, music studio. And 4, buy nice things for myself. Now, if you ask anybody in this day and age, they'll tell you right now, they've probably got similar ambitions and goals, yeah? But my thing is, I was greedy, I was impatient, and I wasn't willing to wait or work hard for what I wanted. So what did I do? I turned to what was easiest. I turned to my circle, I turned to my peers, and I got involved with stupidness. In many occasions, it was totally out of character. You name it. I'm not even going to glamorize it. I'm not proud of these things, yeah? But I got involved with things that were out of character. Stupid, dumb, ridiculous. To this day, me and my mum laugh about it. She says, "You're a fool, what did you do?" Yeah? And it's the truth. I was a fool. I was a dumb fool at a young age. But the company that we set up is to prevent kids from making those foolish mistakes. And that's why I'm here, man.
Fantastic. Russell, you
So my name is Russell Williams, lead mentor. We're here to help transition into being valuable members of society. So we come from a rehabilitation front. We know young people make mistakes, so we look at a holistic approach that everyone's individual. Here, challenge for change, and to steer them on the right minds and provide them opportunities to stop their reoffending behavior. Keep them focused in terms of career steps. That's what we do.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit about your own background and where you come from and everything.
Well, I come from Trinidad and Tobago. I first came to the UK in 2001. I went to Stanley Park where I was linking up with these guys. You could say Christian. He was from the Roundshore area. So that's where I probably hung out most of my time. I was first brought to England by my mum in Mitcham. So I used to go Mitcham to Stanley Park. That's where I would see Michael. We get the same 200 bus from Fitzbridge. We all used to see each other growing up. I originally from Trinidad, but now reside in the UK.
Okay. All right, thank you for that, guys. Now, look, Chris has touched on it, and I want to get this from all of you now, because you say that the value of your company is that you were founded by ex-offenders or those involved in a particular lifestyle. So I want, from all of you now, I want to get just a brief overview, basically, of what you were involved in when you were doing the things that you were doing in your past.
Yeah, I'll start off. Well, we're not going to go into too much detail because we'll be here for years because it was
You get
years
yourself
of,
arrested.
it was years of negative mindset and very, very harsh decisions that we made, and there was harsh consequences that came with it. So I've got a lot of friends that are in prison at the moment. I've had a couple of friends that have died. I've had friends that have died in prison. But yeah, I was involved with serious youth violence. Like, to be honest, when I first started off getting into my teens, my early teens, it wasn't even about youth violence. We thought we was artists. So we used to go around doing graffiti. Like, it was more about like doing graffiti, getting your name out there. So it was doing some like very wild stuff, like very like Daredevil stuff. We'll go on the train tracks, we'll hang off trains and like graph like our name on outside the train. Like some really like people like you can actually die. Like, when I'm thinking of it now, if I saw a little child, if I saw a young kid doing that, I'll actually stop and say, listen, mate, that's highly dangerous. Yeah. But at the time, we just thought it was very courageous. Like, we just wanted to get out there, like by all means necessary. Who's got the most guts to be like to do the most savviest thing? Like, gonna go on the train track on the overfly, hang off it, and do your thing upside down, all that kind of wild stuff. So it started off kind of like that. But because of the area that I'm from, it was a predominantly white area, Mitcham. And it was run by travellers and kind of people who have been in Mitcham before people like the Africans and the Jamaicans started coming in. So all the kind of urban people. And then we ran into a time where we was getting offenses from the people who were originally there. So we'll get called names and abuse was coming, and it got to a point where we was like, listen, we can't actually deal with this because like we're going out certain places, we're gonna go to the fun fair and we're getting called names and this, that and the other, be walking, you hear monkey noises. It was very serious, and if you research the history of Mitcham, it was very serious. And it got to a point where it was like, you know what, like especially going to high school, like you meet a lot of people. So I was linked up through all the schools in Merton. I knew people from schools in Wandsworth, schools in Croydon. So it got to a point where I started hanging around with a lot of people, and then obviously for you to come to my area, we had to be like a team. I wouldn't even say it as a gang because it weren't actually a gang. I just knew a lot of people from different areas, so it was actually like a team. Like people coming from this place, and we'll chill. And it got to a point where we thought to ourselves, you know what, we need to actually protect ourselves when these people are coming for us, because at first it wasn't even youth violence. We was actually dealing with big men who were racist. Like the young boys weren't really racist like that. They were probably learning racism from their parents, but it was actually the big guys who were originally from this, that, and the other, like the big blacks. You know what I mean? So we thought, you know what, we had fights with them. We had like little run-ins and little clashes, and we was cheeky and run off and cool names, and we'll shoot off or whatever. But yeah, it was more for protection. So when the youth violence actually started coming into Mitcham, it was actually more for protection more than anything. So we weren't fighting amongst each other. It was actually fighting, should I say, the opposition, which were the people who were showing offences to us. You know what I mean? And I'll say at that point there, obviously, when you start meeting with certain people and certain people are doing certain things, you start kind of mixing into certain activities. So certain people were drug dealers, certain people were still doing their graffiti stuff, and it kind of just all kind of became kind of one thing. So everybody was doing the one thing, because if you see your friend making money, you're going to be like, oh, listen, I want to make money as well. So at the time, that's how it all came involved. And then obviously as time goes on, and especially with money, jealousy starts coming involved. So people start like having like jealous thoughts about people, and then over time, I think things just started happening within the circle, which has obviously led to youth violence. And there was a big thing that happened where it kind of separated the whole kind of team that we had and Mitcham itself. So Mitcham and another area kind of clashed, and then from then it just went all pear-shaped. And unfortunately there was a fatality, and from then that's when the realization came that this is actually very serious. And I'll say at that time that I could have been there, and I probably would have been there if I wasn't having my daughter. But at the time she was in her mum's belly, and the mum was very I'll say strict. She was a strict girlfriend. So don't hang around with them boys and like what you doing? You got a child on the way, like this, that, and the other. So I kind of heard the voice in my head and thought, I'm not gonna go out this day, because I knew what was gonna happen. And unfortunately that day something did happen, and then you know what I mean, and people paid the price for it. So someone was unfortunately killed and someone went to jail for life. And I think from then that was like my wake up call to say, you know, I'm blessed. Like, I've got a daughter now. I could have been there and not ever seen my daughter for how many years, but do you know what I mean? Because of that situation there, that is what saved me. So from then is when I kind of started pulling myself together and, you know,
So,
yeah.
and this is what people don't realize. The system in the UK is harsh. It only takes one mistake.
That's it.
One mistake and you're finished. Your life is written off. This is the price that my little brother's facing. One mistake, joint enterprise, because he was involved. So knowledge, presence, or actions that lead towards a crime, and that is it. You're in prison for life, or you're in prison for murder, or even worse. We was talking yesterday. Young kids now are taking headshots. So mistaken identity, or you upset the wrong person, and it's brutal. So both sides. Young kids don't realize that when they're getting involved with the streets, it's brutal. It's brutal. Like it's not a game. It's not no jokes. And when we was growing up, me in my personal opinion, things are 10 times worse now. The kids are desensitized. Yeah, I was talking about it on my way up to this workshop today. The kids now, they will stab a man and go and eat breakfast or go to Nando's and not even feel no way about it. Yeah. Whereas if we stabbed someone back in the day, we'd lose sleep, or would get hot flushes or sweats, or be panicking when the news comes on. Yeah. But the kids nowadays, they will stab someone and just don't feel no way. And in fact, they will count it and point systems and all these dumb things that are happening now. So, you know, my story is similar to Michael's, sort of answering your question. Growing up, we formed into a group. We weren't even a gang. We was approached and people used to try and label us as a gang, but we was formed through friendships. Like I said, we grew up from nappies, primary school, high school, college. We grew up through the stages. So it was a natural formation. It wasn't overnight. We didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, let's today form a cult. It wasn't like that. We grew up organically. My mum knew his mum, my mum knew his uncle. Everyone's interlinked. We're all in the same estate. We're all playing up till 9 o'clock. My mum will phone his mum to see if I'm still at his house. I'm staying over at his house and X, Y, Z. And that is the beauty of community estates. You can't get that anywhere. A community estate is wonderful. I no longer live on a community estate, but I try to show my kids the benefits of living within a community estate. It's so beautiful. Like playing out on the estate is wicked, but it also comes with consequences and dangers. And there's normal standardized things that happen. People are desensitized. Parents let things go. They overlook weed smoking. They overlook knockdown ginger. They overlook theft. And theft leads to burglaries, and burglaries leads to robberies. Now, at that young age when we was growing up, everything was money motivated. Yeah, like I said, all of our intentions were positive. Yeah, if we written down what our goals were, you'd be like, bloody hell, this is a great kid. This is a good kid. Like, he wants to buy his mum a house. Yeah, but it was the approach we was taking to go and get those goals, and we was not willing to be patient, and that led, to answer your question, to stupid, out of character things. Our parents did not raise us like that. Yeah, we come from good backgrounds, good strong parents, mothers, and we knew wrong from right because we knew the morals. And this is the reality. And this is the reality for many kids, especially from Black and Afro-Caribbean backgrounds. Their parents ain't stupid. Their parents are proper on point. But the young kids are ambitious. The young kids don't like to come home and there's bread and butter for dinner. Yeah, and they're coming home and there's no gas and electric on the TV. Or no gas and electric when they're coming home. When they're coming home, the key meter's beeping. This is the reality we're living, bro. Yeah? You're coming home and there's no snacks. You're coming home and there's Provident Man knocking at the door. Those who know Provident Man will know what I'm talking about. Or you're coming home and there's debt collector knocking at the door. Bailiffs trying to take your TV and all sorts of stuff. This is the reality of our community estates. Now, as a young man at 14, 15, you're facing these pressures and your mum's under pressure, your mum's stressing, and you've got your goals of buying your mum a house and getting a car, what are you going to do? Yeah? There's only one option at 15. You can't get a job. You can't do paper round because paper round's only paying you £10 a week. Yeah? So what do? Yeah? You're money motivated. 1, to get your mum out of the hood. 2, to buy your mum a nice house. So anything that comes up, you're doing it. Like, I was doing things, I didn't even know the consequences. There was things, I'm not going to mention crimes, Jerome, because it can incriminate certain people. But there's things I was doing, I didn't even know it carried double figures. And that was all, it wasn't because I was a bad man or I'm a road you or I'm crazy or I'm a killer man or whatever it is. It was all because I was hungry. I wanted to get my mum out of the hood. I was sick of the poverty, I was sick of debt. I didn't like the council estate life, and that was it about. So for me, everything was money motivated. I'm going to be real with you. My thing was money motivated. And then also, I had a personal ambition of music. I love music. I was involved with a music group. Yeah, and some people would have probably seen that as a gang, but it was a music group. And the same goals that I had for my personal life, the same goals we had as our music group. We wanted to be famous, we wanted to be on stage, we wanted to perform and sing and rap, and we wanted to attract females, and we wanted to live that fabulous superstar lifestyle. But to fund that lifestyle, the music videos were costing 2-3 grand. The studio time's £100 a session. How are you funding that at 15? Yeah? Robberies, drugs, theft, burglaries, you name it. That's what has to be done. And that's what you do. And the reason why that happens is because when you're turned into your circle, nobody knows better. And it's not an excuse. I'm telling you, when you go to certain estates, people at that point in time didn't know about business, or let's grind and set up a little sweet shop, or let's grind and do something positive and sell from a little corner shop. No one knows that. All we knew was jump on the line, county lines, let's go to country, let's shop, let's rob my man. He's got about 10 grand sitting in his grow house. That's all we knew. And because you're hungry and you've got those goals in front of you, you're going to get that by any means necessary. And this is probably why the kids are desensitized, because they want to get what they want to get. But obviously, now is a different subject. We'll come on to that as well.
Yeah, so it's true, man. What Chris is saying, I can relate a lot. I think my biggest wake-up call was, you've been labelled hardest man at school, you've been labelled with all that distraction, and then when you're lacking focus in terms of the direction of career steps, like I was talking about earlier, then you miss the opportunity to get good grades, and then you might miss the opportunity even to be socially included, because they have a filtering system even with the grades, apart from DBS, as we know. So yeah, that was my biggest wake-up call. I went to Trinidad and Tobago and I saw my cousin, they're winning votes for presidential election. And so that they're getting the hardest man to go around winning votes. But after, the government said, oh, their money, they were still loafing meaning they're still idling around for jobs. Apart from that, they was trying to rob people and sell drugs. So I just thought, okay, we could be the most hardest thing in school, but then we come out as the most dunce. I mean, we ain't got no sense. So how could we, that's why you see us as community people, is like a great community payback to give back to the community, because we are the probably ones are the cause of some of the problems in the past. So it's only right we can empower ourselves and people around us by giving back in terms of the awareness and challenging for change, as I would say, because now I'm seeing my cousin, supposed to be the rudest thing, by the garage looking for piece of work. Where's the sense in that? Where's the sense in us being the hardest man in school and get distracted by all the girls? So that was the awareness for unique talent. For us guys to link up, because it was very like-minded. In terms of experiencing violence and stuff, Trinidad and Tobago was always like a violent place. The first thing is about to kill it, sort of thing. So with that mindset, coming here, you get lost in peer groups, you get lost in affiliations, you get lost in bonds, and if your peer group doesn't have the right mindset going forward, certain attachment would make you get in certain things. So your friend might call you on the move, or your friend might say, oh, this guy upset him, swinging you, oh, where is he? And then emotionally you got bad connections with people because they don't see the bigger picture, they don't see the brighter future. So that's why we're here as unique talent to hopefully have a holistic approach, because when I mean holistic, everyone's different. So you're looking at someone with the county lines, they might need different support than someone who's in the estate. You might talk to the estate guy about running a business. The county lines, you might need to go into re-educating themselves on the career steps. It's different. There's a holistic approach to everyone, and that's what we're here to share our journey and not really glorify the past and what happened. And hence to move forward. The reason people lose their lives, and we're all passionate, and we know we contribute of some of the things that happened in the past, and we're here to do a community payback.
Listen, I thank all of you for that now. But look, you've gone into the history, who you are and what you do now. But I do really want to make it present for the young people that are around now, because a big part of your work is that you all mentor young people, and you help them to change their lives. Some of them who have been in the criminal justice system, some who are just getting into trouble, and you want to stop that from escalating to another level. So for the young people that you were mentoring and helping at this time, what happened when the COVID-19 lockdown happened? please give me, all of you, 2 examples, if you can, basically, of people who were affected, who you were dealing with from the circumstances that have happened now.
If I'm totally honest, at first, and I think Chris was talking about yesterday, when the COVID thing first happened, obviously it was a shock to everyone, but obviously everyone's a bit wary. So when the lockdown thing happened, people were actually like adhering to the lockdown rules. Obviously you had people who were into certain activities that had to go out to do their little mingling here and there, but the masses were actually in the house because no one didn't want to catch this COVID thing, because like at the time it was quite live, and it was like the numbers were rising and everything. So the young people who I was working with, they was indoors. And some of them were happy to be indoors because some of them are just lazy. Some of them just want to smoke their stuff and just do whatever they're doing, chill, like, you know what I mean, like let their friends come over to the house or vice versa. So when I was chatting to them, they actually wanted to go in. But then as time went on and they were thinking, you know what, this is actually getting a bit boring now. We need to go outside. So at first, crime numbers actually dropped because everybody just thinks, you know what, let's just stay in our house, like, and you know, like nobody knew how long it was going to last for. We all thought it was going to be that, you know what I mean? No one didn't have that think, you know what, it's going to be going on for 6 months or however many months it's going for. So at first everyone was like, you know, lockdown, it's cool, man. We're all in our house anyway. Nobody's out. What can we really do? The kind of the world we know to itself has come to a kind of like a standstill. So even if we was to go out, there's nothing really to do. Like, do you know what I mean? So at first I think it was a good thing for all the young people. Like the young people that I was speaking to, like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to go to school. I don't have to do this. Like, I'm just chilling. Like, mum ain't really bothering me. Just playing my computer all day. This, that, and the other. But then, as time went on, young people started getting agitated. And even myself, I started getting agitated because the things that I love to do, I couldn't do anymore. So even engaging with them on a face-to-face, basis, I couldn't do. Which I thought my work, I wouldn't say it was ineffective, but I felt that this is not how I'm used to working. So me calling you or having video calls with you and talking to you isn't how I normally work. So I had to kind of get used to it. They had to kind of get used to it as well. But I think as time went on, especially being in the house, even when I talk to the young people who I mentor now, and I'm like, you do understand the consequences of the stuff that you're doing, like it's going to lead to jail. So if you're unhappy with being in your own house for however long, and you're complaining about being in your house, imagine being in a cell for like locked in an actual cell, no mum to cook you food, no PlayStation to say yeah, no calling your girlfriends or calling your man them. This is the reality of it now. So you're complaining about staying in your actual house for 3 months, but you're ready to do whatever you're doing and risk going to jail. So when they actually think about it that way, they're like, yeah, you know what, you're kind of right, you know, like kind of thing like that. But obviously, it has had a mental effect on the young people, and it's had a mental effect on the elderly, like on the old people, the people older. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously certain people lost their jobs and so forth. So especially with the parents who are trying to deal with their own troubles and then deal with the young people who are going through their thing, of course it's going to be hard. So certain families broke down, young people were being more aggressive to their parents because their parents are trying to get them to stay in because obviously they care for them. They're not trying to make them go outside and catch it because everybody thinks this, you know what I mean, this virus is going to obviously be some sort of deadly thing, no matter if the young people are not really affected by it, but they just want to keep everybody safe. So a lot of the time you see the parents are trying to keep their young people in and obviously trying to keep them active in certain things like in schoolwork, but the young people they want their own way, isn't it? So there was clashes between certain parents and the children that they had, like the relationship kind of broke down in certain ways. But to be honest, me personally, I think it was a good thing for the young people just to kind of get a different kind of feel to life because nobody expected it. Nobody can say we expected this and we knew this was going to happen, and so it come out of nowhere. And everybody, even like from me to the young people to everybody was affected from it in some way. So that's my two kind of takes to it. It was a good thing, but also a bad thing in a certain way. As it dragged on, it got a bit worse because people are getting agitated. Even I got agitated, as in I need to start doing what I'm doing. I need to go out. I need to work. I need to do the things that, you know what I mean, I want to do. So I see the people that I used to see, like my family, I couldn't see my family. Like, you know what I mean? I'm phoning my sister. She's like, no, you can't come over. Like, and the kids now, it's like, what? Like, you're not used to it. And being cooped up in a house, nobody's used to that. Yeah. So the analogy I made with the prison with the young people, like when you start seeing it like that, you're just like, wow, like I'm actually in my own house where it should be comfortable. This is my home, but I still feel agitated to do the stuff that I need my freedom, as in I want to go out to the shop. Like at one time, it was crazy. You couldn't even go to the shop. Like, shops were closed, the lines were ridiculous. Like, nobody knew what was going on. Stuff was like, food was gone. Like, and imagine what he was saying. Like, sometimes the parents haven't even got money to even afford for their bills and food. So imagine when that was going on, and there's no food. So you're going to shops with your little money that you've got, and there's actually no food. Like, this stuff was real. So for a lot of the young people, I think they saw it and thought, you know what, like, we're actually really in a position now that we need to start thinking like properly, because like forget the youth violence stuff. Like, my family's in a position now. I think a lot of young people saw that until it started kind of like relaxing, and then, you know, but we're still in a lockdown, but it's relaxing, so people just started wanting to just do what they wanted to do, and then
and because they've been targeted by the police, that's why you see during the COVID there's an increase in reoffending that happened, unfortunately, and it's because that might have people with board something.
Let me just bring some context to what Russ is saying as well. So, just to give a bit of background and leading towards the work that we're doing. So, 2019, knife crime hit a 10-year high. Yeah. So, 2011 was a record high for knife crime. 10 years later, 2019, we're looking at about 45,000 stabbings across the UK. Yeah. Unprecedented, ridiculous. You think about that. You break it down per day. 365 days a week, 45,000 stabbings, yeah? I think over 150 young people died in London as a result of knife crime, yeah? And that's only what's recorded, brother, yeah? We're not even talking about the unrecorded stuff, because a lot of young kids don't say nothing. They'll go home and patch it up and watch those movies and do what they got to do. Or they'll go to hospital and say they'll make up an excuse, they don't get recorded as knife crime. So 45,000, that's only what's recorded, yeah? Bam, March 2020, Jerome, COVID-19, Boris Johnson announces the lockdown. Yeah, 2 weeks later, knife crime and gang-related crime, zoop, goes to an all-time low. I was like, what? God has brought the solution. We need more COVID-19 to stop this knife crime problem. Yeah. So the knife crime and the gang crime stopped. But guess what happened? The kids are sitting indoors. They're loving it at first. Like Mike said, they're man, I have to go to school no more. Yo, I'm loving it, bro. Like, I can chill at home. I can sleep till 12, 1 o'clock. But the novelty wears off. Yeah? The novelty wears off. Guys get bored. They can't do the prison life. They can't do the prison conditions. Yeah. And guess what? You've got Xbox, everything at home. Imagine being confined 23 hours to your prison cell. So now you're sitting at home, you're getting bored, you're getting frustrated, you're getting annoyed. Your mum's telling you to do chores now. Your mum saying, I want you to wash up and I want you to help out around the house now. And then this is where our advice and guidance line is starting to pop off. We've seen an increased number of referrals. We've seen an increased number of phone calls from existing clients. I take the 24/7 advice line. And 2 of the cases, to answer your question, which I've had, have been kids, like Russ said, who've been frustrated and who are just literally their routine's gone out the window. They're not doing the online schooling. They're not following any routine. They're getting up at 1 o'clock and doing whatever they want to do. Mum's telling them to help out, and there's clashes between mum and son. Yeah? And this is the typical case that I'm working with. I had 2 cases similar. One where the son's not doing anything, and mum's concerned because he's going out and he's beginning to hang out with the wrong crowds, and he's getting involved with the wrong things. So what do? I support mum through our peer advice, because the parents are a similar age to us. So we can give that positive guidance. So 1, I share my personal experiences of where my mum went wrong and where my mum could have improved, or where parents in general can improve their standards of what they could be doing. Yeah, i.e., listen to what they like. Maybe get them with football, maybe get them involved with stuff that they like, take them to the park, different things that they can do, following the guidance and the corona lockdown. Also, empowering the mum to make the right decisions. But then thirdly, taking on that case, send me your son's number and please do an introduction in the safest possible way, and we'll offer your son some support. And I got onto the phone with that young man, and I didn't put it on him horrible, but I put it on him nicely. And I simply said to this young man, when you come out of this lockdown and you speak to your friends and you go back to school, what have you achieved? And it kind of hit him. I said, what have you achieved? What are you going to tell your friends and your school people? And ultimately for yourself, what have you achieved? Have you come out of this lockdown, putting on weight, chubby, cheesy, nothing happening for you? In fact, you're even more dumb. You're not learned anything. You've gone 10 steps backwards. Do you want that for your life, young man? That's what I asked the guy. And then when I got into a point where he acknowledged, you know what, I can't come out of this lockdown with less education, more weight, mental health's destroyed. So we decided to put a routine, a little schedule together of things that one, he wants to achieve and a routine we can put in place. And I was able to communicate and share that with the mum and get things back in place and then sort of tackle it through mentoring. The second case was a case where the young man, frustrated, lockdown, the novelty weared off, and it got to the point where he wanted to, you know, be the man of the house and run the house and get aggressive, and there was domestic violence within the home. Smashing things up, you know, lashing out at mum and dad and siblings within the home. The house has become an unstable, unsafe place. Mum was scared to phone police because she didn't want to incriminate the young man. I gave simple advice. I said, you can't have a young man in your house doing that. And I said, on the roads, one thing we'll teach you on the roads, no matter how bad a young person is on the streets or what crimes we've committed, one thing on the roads is we have morals and we know not to disrespect our parents. Yeah. So any young kids who are disrespecting their parents, that's not road. Yeah, you're just downright rude and you're out of order. That's what it is. Yeah. Us man here will never be rude to our parents or cuss them off. We'll be vexed with them, but we'd approach it differently. But we would never lash out at our mum or smash up the house. That's not roadman's life. That's not a bad boy's life. Yeah. So I just broke it down to be simple. Like, I don't respect you for that, and kept it rolling. You're not a bad boy. You're lashing out on your mum, big man. Allow all that. I sort of just had to have a frank conversation. Unfortunately, it continued, and I just kept it real with them. I said, listen, you've got to be cruel to be kind. And if you don't phone the police, it's going to get worse, and you may end up doing something serious to someone. So you need to let them know that you're not having it in your house, and he needs to go, or you're going to phone police. Protect yourself. And mum followed that advice. The police came up, they sat down with him and spoke to him and gave him stern words. And then he began to realise that if he don't back up his ideas, he's going to end up street homeless. Because one, he's not eligible for housing. Two, he's got nowhere to go and no one's willing to take him on because he's disrespecting his family members. So he realised very quickly that he could end up in a mad situation, street homeless. And luckily, what happened is the family arranged to put him at the grandma's house and things calmed down. And things got back to normal and everything was a bit peaceful. They always say distance makes the heart go fonder. When people go to prison, they start to say love you, mum, and all sorts of stuff. I've been there. So the distance makes your heart go fonder. And the solution to that case was, you know what, get away from that home. You need space, you need time. And that was able to solve the situation. But there's plenty of cases like that, Jerome. You know, the novelty wears off pretty quick. And when you get 6 months into the coronavirus lockdown, you know, the reality can change.
Right, I see. So now, look, we've now seen kind of what people have been going through, especially the young people that you've been working with at this time. But I want to touch on something different now, which is, I think, a question that many young people kind of need answered for themselves, and also those who work with them and their parents need answered as well. So I want to talk about youth culture now. When it came to the culture, when it comes to the culture that currently exists, what is it that exists nowadays? What are the current trends with youth? What's the kind of fashion? And you know, how does that have an impact on the youth violence that's been taking place?
Do you know what I'll say is that this trend that you're talking about and this culture has been going on for many years. It was happening before my time. It was happening with my older peers that I was around. Their older peers and they was around. So it's nothing new. It's like Chris said, it's just that I think people are more desensitized to what is going on. Because before, in like maybe the 80s or 70s, it was an odd occasion that someone would get killed. And when someone got killed, it was a big thing. It was like, yeah, if you got killed, okay, you got killed for a serious reason. Like, a lot of people didn't get killed, a lot of people didn't get knifed up or whatever. The odd occasion, obviously, like within the kind of like the white community, like in Essex or down here, that stuff was happening like between their communities. But with the black folks, with the black folks and the other minorities, that stuff wasn't happening though. There were still gangs and everything, like people like organized crime within money, like people robbing like IT, like warehouses and stuff, because that's what used to go on phone calls and so forth. But as in youth violence and the violence that was going, it was very minimal. And if it did happen, because of obviously the technology and the intelligence wasn't great in times there, you'll get away with it because it was an odd thing. Like, it was an odd thing what happens. So one-off happens, like some people might get away, some people might get caught and sent to prison. But the actual culture itself has always been there. You'll see pictures from the 90s, like my mentor who came and started mentoring me when I was like about 15, 16. And the reason why I took to him is because I could relate to him. He would show me old school pictures of his brethren, like Avrexed up, gold teeth, like watches on, Rolexes on. So the stuff has been happening, and he's 20 years older than me. So that was happening in the 70s and 80s. So before him, he had people that he was looking up to, that same culture was going on. So the culture hasn't changed in any way. People still want money, people still want to look good, people still want to buy the houses for their parents and just get out of poverty and just, impress, like, whether it's girls or people you've grown up with, to say that, I've come from something, I've come from this to this. And you know what I mean? The same kind of mentality is the same, but I think what Chris was saying, it's just like, nowadays, you'll find it very odd if you ask young people, okay, what are you actually doing this gang involvement for? Half of them wouldn't even know.
That's right.
That's you wouldn't know. But before we had answers, we'll be like, we're protecting ourselves. Yeah. Really truth, we don't even want to do it.
And that, bro, is the key difference. That's the key difference from before and now. Now it's all about reputation.
Yeah.
So it's almost, I describe it as military. So whereas before we had intentions, to protect ourselves, like Mike said, and get ourselves out of a struggle. Yeah, so we had good intentions. The intentions, the underlying intentions have sort of changed, shifted a little bit. Yeah, and the kids want to protect. They do want to protect themselves. They do want to get their mum out. But now there's some stripes. They're earning stripes, and people want to climb up a ranking order. People want to impress. Yeah. And I would say also pride. The pride levels have increased. So for people to let go of things and for people to overlook situations is less likely to happen. And people are doing things out of character because of pride.
And also what I add to that is like what I said before. Back in the 70s and 80s, it was a very low. It was a very low number that people were getting murdered. So now, from say 2010 onwards, because so many people have been murdered, the areas that they're from have inherited problems which they can't escape from. So certain people have been brought up and they don't even know. If you ask the people from this area, what have you got drama with them people from? They won't even know the history of it. They just know that because I'm from this area and these people have come down, by now they probably would have stabbed up a couple of their friends or vice versa. So the problem is inherited. It's just gone on and on. It's a cycle. So they actually don't know what the problem is actually for. It's not like a personal vendetta, like I know him and this was happening, we used to chill when this happened. They probably don't even know that. They just know I'm from this area. And then they get to a certain point where the people from the area are grooming them. So from young, the people say, you know what? And they can see who they can target and see who's about, like who's a bit with it. And they'll target and people say, come roll with us and then obviously that person now has got loyalty for them, for the people who was grooming him and taking them under their wing. So he feels obliged to get involved with the dramas now. So a lot of the time you'll have the older people then, like from the areas, and they'll have their young people, and the young people, all they're doing is showing loyalty. Because that's what they feel that they owe to their people for taking them under their wing, giving me money or making me sell a bit so I can earn money. It's like they see them as like kind of like their father figures or whatever. Because like I wouldn't say most of them, but some of them don't have that. Some of them don't have the guidance. So when you've got the people who are doing them certain things and they're showing them how to do certain things, because no one else is showing me, but I'm earning money from this way, so they see it as, I can trust in this person. I can, I'll take to him and I'll do stuff for him. So that's how a lot of stuff happens now, because of this going round and round in circles, and so many things have happened in the time. People don't even know what they're doing it for.
So I want to add to this question because two things have been said now. The underlying intention has changed, which is what Chris has said, and you have basically explained, Michael, that the actual the reasons why people are getting involved in conflicts have now changed. They don't understand why they have a vendetta against another area. So
born into it.
Yeah. So now what I want to ask you guys basically is kind of, when it comes to how your elders brought you into the game, if they want to call it the game basically, how did that happen and has that changed? And in terms of, even though the reasons why you may have joined gangs, such as which was to defend yourself at the time, may have changed, have the formation of gangs and the way gangs are built and come together, has that changed?
Well, can I say something about the awareness of unique talent and giving like what Michael calls the cause. So when you fight for something, when you're from a young age, you might look up to the wrong stuff, to get influenced, to aspire. So even when like you say, you might be on stuff, and then you might say, yeah, you on stuff, come. That might be inspiration. You might be getting negative traction from what you see on TV, what you see from your neighborhood. Just going on, you might be seeing someone getting smashed, and then let's desensitize to those stuff. And now you're gonna go up the hardest mind. If anyone trouble you, instead of going and do mediation, your first thing is to draw the points, or think about a violent reaction. And then when you're proven, you get groomed by the older ones because you're about it, as I said. So then it's sometimes aspirations, some people have their own aspirations. And that's why we hate the challenge mindset in terms of all awareness and what Mike said. It's been going on for a long time. So his mentor was looking at the part. So we just need some sort of rehabilitation for the young people. Why are we doing this community payback scheme? And we just need to fight and challenge mindset.
So are you saying, Russell, so just 1 second, Michael. Right, Russell, are you saying the same aspirations that young people had to do negative things, was that the same for you when you were younger, and is that the same now for them?
Yeah, obviously, I didn't know better. I gave this up my life thought the other day. If you don't know better, like Christian said, you go to advice from a circle or association and they tell you what to do, because we didn't know better. It's until mentors come into our lives. I'm sure we was, someone died and then it touched us a certain way. Someone could have gone to prison but had a kid there. Certain moves made us more aware of how everything come together, because our aspiration was to be the biggest boy.
And let me just say this. I'll tell you why in some aspect that it's worse, because at a time, obviously I'm not saying that it's for everybody, but at a time, Christian, like your parents taught you right, my parents taught you right, a lot of parents were trying to teach their kids right, but because of their social surroundings, they started doing certain other things. Now, what you're getting in this day and age is that a lot of people who are from the road have kids. And the people who are actually the gangbangers and the older gang, they've got kids now. Yeah. So I know a person who he's from the north end of London. He was killed. He was involved, deeply involved with gangs. He's been killed now. He's got a young son who has followed his footsteps. Because now he hasn't even got a guidance. Not even to say that his dad would have guided him any better, but now you fully haven't got no guidance. You know what your dad was involved in. You know your dad's been killed. Now you're taking the kind of the role of your dad now and doing who's gonna come and teach him? He hasn't got no one to come and actually teach him. Like, oh, you know what? Don't follow your dad's foot. He probably has, to be honest, but at the time, how does he take that? Like, do you know what I mean? He was probably maybe about 6 when his dad died. He probably doesn't remember. He's got pictures, but he probably don't remember like that how his dad, who his dad was in that kind of aspect. But he knows that his dad was about it, and he knows the reason why his dad was killed.
So what happens with them? If your dad inherits certain homage and certain assets in terms of negativity, and you don't have the right mindset, you will take it up and try to aspire to be like that, because the people in the community who are still negative gonna spray it on and give you the link.
And just to sort of summarize, generational, so it's passed down unless the cycle is broken, which we've done. We've broken that. Our kids are not getting involved with gangs. But if we didn't wake up and we didn't realize better, we would have been influencing our kids to be getting involved. I.e., younger Mike, younger Chris, younger Russ.
And the thing is, sometimes I wouldn't even say influence, but I think you just like you said, you let it slide.
Let it slide.
Like, oh, you can smoke weed because I smoke weed. You're seeing me smoke weed in the house. You're seeing like people come to my house and talking certain things. I had a friend when we was young, and everyone used to go to his house. And the mum and dad used to see all the activity, and they were basically involved. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you know what basically involved. I'm talking about there was offensive weapons, there was drugs, there was heavy stuff. I won't even get into exactly what was there, but now you realise why your sons are in prison. Like, you didn't challenge it. You was actually involved. Like, you let it happen. Do you know what I mean? So really and truthfully, you can't say, do you know what? Oh, like, we feel sorry for you. Like really and truthfully, you knew the consequence of it. You're an adult. You should know what this is going to bring. Eventually, one's in prison for a long time. The other one's in prison for a long time. And it's like, listen, at the end of the day, you didn't challenge them on it. Like, my mum always challenged us. I remember one time she must have found like a big sack of it. I'm not going to say how much it was of cannabis in my house. That was my older brother's, and she found it and straight flushed in the toilet. Do you know how much problems I got in my but she did not care. Like she don't even ask you like whose is it? Like you're bringing this in my house in front of you, in the toilet. You know what? Furthermore, hold the slap, boom. Say something now. Like my mom was quite rowdy, so there was no talking. Like you know when you done wrong, like. And we're not gonna like it's like we say we're not gonna challenge our mum because we know we done wrong. How can I go in there and shout at my mum for me bringing this into your house and putting you in danger? That doesn't make any sense.
And that goes back. He would never get rude to his mum in this situation.
Never. Every time my mum was saying something, it was me that was doing wrong. I'm not gonna be oblivious and think that I'm in the right, like I'm a big man, I can do it. No, I know I still have to be careful. I know my mum was saying it from a caring point of view. That's when I talk to these young people. I say, listen, if your mum's nagging, she's caring. If she didn't nag, then you know she don't care about you. There's people who feel neglected right now. Do you understand that? And people who think, why don't my mum care? Why does my mum let me out this late? Like, why she let me do these things? Like, she don't care. But you're complaining because your mum's over caring. Like, there's going to be a point where that don't happen, and when you think, right, I just want my mum like to, you know, I want to feel loved again because certain times you don't get that love again. Only your parents can really give you that love, or your partner, or whatever. So sometimes you just have to think about it and think, you know what, like we done wrong. I'm guilty for it. I hold the punishment because if it weren't that punishment and getting slapped and flushing it, I would have went to prison. Yeah. So it's a catch-22. Like, do you understand? There are consequences, and I think a lot of the time young people they don't like what you say. You don't think about the consequences when you're 14, 15. Who's come to you? Because my mum didn't know. She was from Africa. She had no clue what was going on here or what the justice system was like in England. Yeah. She was an immigrant. So that's why we do what we do, so we can tell you there are consequences. These are past stories of people who came before us and people who are coming now. This is the consequences. Do you understand that? Because at my age when I was growing up and I was there waving everything about and chain and jewelry, ragging motorbikes to school, I didn't know those consequences. For me, I was having fun. The consequence was for my mum. That the heavy strike that I gave, she found out what I was doing. But as for the law, I had no idea what was going on. So that's why it's telling that it's mad.
There's so many scenarios. And we've got a guest in the room right now, and he knows the story. Really, we can tell you 101 stories. You know, even one right now, we're sitting on the motorway, but I'm so white, I'm so brown. And we've got stranded on the motorway. Like, not standing on the side of the motorway, high chicken, like, my hands up trying to get a lift. Only God could help us in that situation. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you. So look, I'm going to move on to a separate part, which is going to be a bit deeper. But just on the last part of this section of our panel discussion, in terms of the development in youth culture and the change, kind of. I mean, I'm talking about mediums now. So social media didn't necessarily exist in the same way it existed when you guys were younger, and the way that young people get together and communicate. Also, the changes and the urban developments of your areas may have changed. So there may be new building structures, your estates might have changed. The way the evolution of the community might have changed. Now I want to get from then till now, what's changed? What are the different ways that young people are getting together, socializing, and doing both positive or negative things? How are they reaching out to one another and developing and evolving their own culture? Whether it be their music, their fashion, everything that they're doing with themselves, their beliefs about life, how has that changed and developed now? Big question.
Well, the communities now, they're more developed now. When I first came to Port Harcourt, you go to some, I couldn't really come in here unless I came with a Caucasian person because it was that deep at the time. But in general, the change now, I think everybody's growing up. The community is getting more rich. I think it's developed. The England has been more developed in terms. I think when it comes to linking up and changing aspiration, I think now we're all good, man.
You know what? Yeah, biggest change is you've heard consistencies. We face racism, which brought us together. We grew up in a community where there was no divide. But over the years and over time, groups and areas have divided. And this is why you're hearing about post-Cold Wars. So whereas Mitcham was one unit together, it's now divided into quadrants. And one part of Mitcham's having rivalries with another area. And the reason why that happens, one of the reasons is because over the years there's been tensions, people have died, and there's been crossovers. And that's caused the natural line of divisions over the years as well. Also, people get older, people get into their own groups, people have arguments, fallouts, and they move into their own groups, they have their own intentions, and people evolve. You know, you mentioned another good point. My estate, you could get from one side of the estate to the other without touching the main road. Yeah, it was like police would not go there. No one from outside of the area wouldn't go there. You just don't go to the area I grew up in. Yeah, and it was bad. So you know, helicopters couldn't even catch you because you can go under, or you could go over. Yeah, so I'm talking you can go from one side to the other without touching the main road. Imagine the crime then. Crazy. You could get away with murder on that state. Yeah. So what did they do? They blew it down. They regenerated it. They changed it into a new lovely name. They called it a village. Yeah. They dismantled it. Yeah. But that helps as well. So I think once you improve an estate, it can help to a certain extent. But what you got to remember is there's still the same mentalities and still the same people there. And until you support those individuals to change their mindset, as Russell always talk about, until you challenge that mindset and improve people and awaken people to think better and think beyond the box, you're not going to get changed. And that comes from a bold government who's going to invest, who's going to pour resources into a community and really take the matter seriously. And that's the only way you're going to break generational change. It happens in so many areas of benefits. You know, there's generations upon generations who continue with the same cycle of claiming benefits and being unemployed. But until you pour resource and awaken people and mentor people and help people to think big and ignite that passion within them, you're not going to get change. And that's what we're about. We're about breaking that cycle, igniting the change within young people and inspiring them to think beyond the box. And we need more of that. That's going to require resource, that's going to require investment, and that's going to require time. And a radical government to pour money and invest in it. Now, unique talent realise that we're not going to always get that money from government. So what we're doing, we're starting to build our own enterprise, business, so we can fund those initiatives and really make a difference in our community. So watch the space.
I'm like, would you add anything or? No. Okay. All right, guys, listen, thank you for that. Now, this is a pretty deep question, but it's necessary because after I ask this question, I'm going to follow on with something else. And I hope you appreciate that my job here in this panel is to keep the panel real to life, actually, and then to be honest about what goes on. So, I don't want to know the specifics. I just want to know, when you committed your first offence, what went through your heads? All of you.
I don't even remember when I committed my first offence, to be honest. I think at a time we was living so free, you didn't even know what offence was. Yeah. So my first offence could have been graffiti and carrying a slingshot and breaking windows. I was very destructive, to that public belonging. So I remember having like a Black Widow slingshot where it's got the kind of thing over your hand. I used to go around places smashing windows, no reason. But that's the all chasing people down and shooting at them. And there's a point where we started getting gas guns. So it's like a pelleted gun, but it's got like a gas chamber which is obviously is gas powered. So I used to just roll around with it and shooting people for jokes. Because obviously it's not deadly. It's just I think it's down to shooting birds now. But we used to do silly stuff like that and just rolling the estate, see man, hey, what's going on, blah blah blah. Dumb stuff and laugh, and they all laugh and run off, go get there while we're having a shootout on the stage. But all that stuff there was the offences, that's actually offensive because obviously people don't know if it's real or not. By the time we had no idea what we was doing, we thought we was having fun. The shop was selling it to us. I remember the shop on Tooting Junction, and they were selling it to us. So we knew it weren't illegal like that because it wasn't an illegal weapon. Do you know what I mean? But there's silly stuff like that. But my first actual real offence, I don't even remember. I couldn't even tell you when it was because so much stuff was happening.
You probably offend every day as a youngster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people, a natural part of the dressing naturally, even from year 9, 10, you're in school, you're putting knife in it every day. You can't even fight it. It's a natural thing.
I'll give you an example anyhow because one of the things I want to touch on as well is when you commit offences, and again, young people don't know better. We didn't know this at the time, but when you're committing these offences, it's selfish. It's proper selfish. We don't think about the long-term ripple effects and how this impacts the wider community. Only until I went to prison and I sat in a group in church, I only did it to get out of my prison cell, but the course hit me. And I'm sitting in a room and the gentleman, the guy who's facilitating said, come round everyone, come round. He got a bucket of water, threw the stone in there, belted it hard in the water. I got splashed up with water. I was like, bro, what are you doing, big man? Like, what are you doing? So I got splashed up. So a couple of people at the back of the room got a trickle, and some people didn't get wet at all, but they heard about it, and they knew about it. But let me mention this first. When you're young and you're selfish and you don't understand the consequences, the people at the front is the people that love you the most, and yourself. So I was impacted by going to prison, traumatized, you know, taken away from society, put in a box, in a cage, in inhumane conditions. Prisons are not built for human capacity, yeah? That's another subject, we'll come into that another day. So I'm put in these conditions, that's the consequences. Fair play, I committed a crime. Fair play, I faced those consequences. But my selfish actions, as Michael said, shooting that, breaking that window, whatever it is, carrying a knife, yeah? All these different things. At the time when we're growing up and we're kids, we don't realize the consequences. So the person at the front, I'm the person that got the biggest splash, prison, hit hard, yeah? Next to me is my mum, my girlfriend. My mum also got a big splash because she's close to me, she's connected to me. So my mum suffered depression and anxiety and all sorts of stuff, you know, really hit hard by my consequences. Her son's been taken away from her, taken away from the home, never happened before. She's impacted hard, she's splashed. Guess what, at the back, there's a lady who didn't get splashed, but she heard about the crime. No, she didn't even hear about the crime. Guess what? Crime rates in her area has gone up because of me, yeah? And because crime rates has gone up, she has to pay higher insurance rates. Her area is bad, so her property price goes down, and all sorts of consequences. When she walks out, because my man's always carrying a knife, and the area is known for people carrying knives, and the area is known for people smashing windows, it's got a bad reputation. When she walks in an alleyway, she clinches her bag, yeah? That's the consequence for her, but she didn't even get splashed. She's just suffering the wider consequences in general. And this is called the ripple effect. This is what young people don't understand. This is what they're not aware of. And until we have this conversation with people, the ripple effect, the consequences, people are not going to realize. My first offense, and I'm talking about it because the ripple effect was what I'm talking about right now. And I remember it, like I said, I was desensitized. I had one mission in mind. I want to make money and I want to do it quick. I didn't mention it earlier, but growing up, if someone didn't bring you in to make money, it was, you're dissing me. Yeah? And it got to that point, it was like, right, you're not bringing me in. I was getting vexed with people. I want to make money too, why are you not bringing me in? Like, you're making money, let's eat together. And that's the mentality. So it was like, Russ ain't bringing me in for a robbery. I'm like, bro, how come I can't come on a robbery with you, yeah? Little no, you maybe want to protect me or keep me safe from certain things, yeah? But that's how it goes, yeah? And that's how it was growing up as well. And I remember, listen, I'm not no robber. I'm not a robber, bruv, yeah? That's not me, bruv. I can keep it real. Everyone knows I'm not a robber. Like, I don't do robberies. But I'm telling you at the time, I was fearless, yeah? I don't know what was in me, but I was fearless. I was hungry and fearless. And I went up and started committing robberies, yeah? Stupid stuff. Like, my guy will tell you some stories, some other stories. Armed robberies, yeah? Stupidness. But I remember committing one robbery, and I remember coming off the back of it and nearly getting caught. And I'm telling you, it was like a movie scene, brother. It was a movie scene, yeah? I'm from South London, I'm in North London. I've just robbed a commercial premises. The alarm bell's going off. We're getting chased. With the getaway drivers in the car, bro. This is movie stuff, yeah? But I'm telling you this because I want to tell you the impact. Traumatized, bro. Traumatized. The getaway driver, this is a movie. The guy is driving the car. We're blowing. Police go past us. Blue lights come on. The police car turns around. I'm in the back of the whip looking like, oh my God.
It's over.
No! What is going on? This can't be happening. I've never got caught before. No! I'm in the back seat, sitting low now. We're on a chase, man. But we just committed a big robbery, bro. We just committed a big robbery and the police car's chasing us now, bro. The guy who's driving panics, smashes into a next car. Boom! That car, smokes everywhere. He starts the car back up, we're going again. Like, you can't make this stuff up. He's driving the whip again, he drove to some alleyway. Yeah? I remember the car rolling. One of my guys hops up. Gone. I'm in the back, the car's still rolling. The driver hops up, I'm in the back seat. I hop out. The car's still rolling. I hop out. Luckily I'm in the back. The driver got chased. Yeah? The other guy got chased. I hop out, no one's chasing me. But then I remember within minutes, helicopters up. I remember hearing helicopters. I have to jump in a river, bro. I'm in North London, I don't know where I am, bro. I jump in a river. I'm soaked. I can hear helicopters. I come out the river. I sit in a skip. And I'm like this, praying. Like, I can't get caught for this thing. Yeah? And I'm mentioning these details because you asked about, do you remember that's one crime I remember as my first serious offence. And like the whole aftermath of it. And I remember I got home. Like, it's only God who got me home. Because I remember I ended up through some alleyway. I remember taking off one of my layers of clothing. And I was in the alleyway with rats and all sorts of stuff. I stayed there for about 30 minutes. I didn't move. I heard helicopters, I heard sirens, and it was going off. I was like, flip. And there's also one point I didn't mention. When we was running, there was pedestrians chasing us down. Yeah, and this is like, it's movie stuff, bro, traumatizing. And I remember I got into a warehouse. The guy could see I was distressed. He saw me. I'm a 15, 16-year-old boy, distressed. And the gentleman in there said, what's happening? And I remember I made up a story. I said, I just got rushed. And the guy ordered me a taxi to my auntie's house. Can you imagine, bro? He ordered me a taxi to my auntie's house. I chilled at my auntie's house for that night, and the next day, I couldn't even face my mom. I couldn't even face her. But all my family knew something wasn't right. They knew something wasn't right, and I couldn't even tell them. It was deep. It traumatized me. Even when I think back to this day, I think, oh my gosh, how can young kids go through such an experience? It's unreal, bro, and it's not nice. And I wouldn't wish any child to have to go through or experience anything like that.
Like that, just
And that's why I
just for
shouldn't
financial gain. That's the wickedest thing. For
Just
financial gain. Anything could happen in that situation. You could have crashed a car. It could have been in serious critical condition. And I've been in situations like that where I've been on motorbikes and having high speed chase. And it's like any minute that I come off this bike, I'm gone. Look, I'm going over 100 miles an hour, like whipping there, here, there, everywhere. And you just think to yourself, what for? Like when you like you don't think about it when you're going to do whatever you're doing, but when it's on and the pressure's on and these blue sirens are behind you, that's when it all comes to you. It's not worth it.
And you know the worst? From that robbery, we only got like £250 or something stupid. Yeah, how dumb is that?
And this links back to Christians saying 45,000 people getting stabbed. It could be linked with reprisals as well. So he probably robbed a warehouse, but if he robbed someone else, we talked about the headshots that's been happening recently. All of that's linked with crime. So the ripple effect of that as well is reprisals, people after you, having a bad name, and it could lead to death.
Right, okay. Listen guys, thank you for that. Now, I want to follow on with something else now, because you've taken me back to the past now, and now I want to kind of go right into the present at this point, where we are, because you guys have had your own backgrounds, you've rehabilitated, which is important for me to know, and now you're trying to lead other young people into rehabilitation, or to just not go down the path in the first place. But there is something that needs to be asked about this, because recently, and I'm sure you've all heard of this, the crime that's been happening in Mitcham in the local area. So a young man was shot basically, and then there's been some stabbings as well, as I understand. Now, for example, Michael, you mentioned that that basically there was that there's conflicts maybe between people in Mitcham and people in another part of South London and all of this kind of stuff. When you guys hear about these offences, now given that these gangs that are now doing this right now and the events that have happened may very well be spin-offs from what you guys did when you were younger, basically. Or they may even be directly the same gang, I don't know, to be honest. What do you say to that and to the community now with your connection to what has happened?
Of course, so even when I speak to the young people from Mitcham, I tell them the history of where the feud came from and what it was over and how I feel that it was unnecessary because of the negative the negative impacts had for the whole community in Mitcham. Like, you know what I mean? It weren't just me personally or my friends personally, the whole community had to feel it. There was times where people were coming in there and people, you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about movie stuff, like Chris said, where people are shooting and all you're seeing is gun smoke and people running and screaming. And like, you think for like a normal bystander to come out your house on a normal sunny day and see what's going on, that's traumatizing. So we're not only causing it to ourselves, we're causing it to the whole community. Parents don't want to let their children out now. Like on a sunny day, they don't want you to go through this. They don't want you to go to the town centre because they know at any moment what we saw last time, it can happen again. So we tell the young people, listen, by all means necessary, if you need to speak to these people and they say, you know, because really and truthfully, no one can really say, I know there's some people where, like, it's got to a certain extent where people have died, I understand, and people are very hurt from it, so there's no, I wouldn't say there's no going back, but in time, you'll get over it, but in this current time, they're not going to get over it. So I understand certain people's vendettas are very harsh, but for the ones that are not, people don't want to be involved in no real gang problem, because they've seen their friend get stabbed, they've probably been stabbed themselves. And they know when they got stabbed how they were feeling. Nobody doesn't want that for themselves or other people. Yeah, we might want to do it to other people, but really and truthfully, they don't want to be involved with that. They don't want to be the one that gets caught slipping and gets wetted up and their friends have left them. They've seen it happen. Everyone can say that they've seen someone like close friend or someone in their group been stabbed, or they've seen it happen to other people, and they've seen the trauma it causes to people. So when that happens, people can't say, yeah, I don't mind this. Of course you mind that. Now you're wary when you're walking out, even if you think, yeah, I'm a bad man, and when you're walking out after you've been strapped, you're going to be looking over your shoulder. That's trauma. Yeah. That's not a bad man thing. Like, that's not saying, yeah, like, I'm looking up like, no, it's traumatizing. Now, even when I got stabbed and whatever happened, I realized the point where I kept on locking my car doors before I even used to bother locking my doors. But then I started locking my doors more often. I made sure my car doors are locked now. That's trauma. You understand? So at first I used to go like happy-go-lucky, like whatever. And when it happened, I started behaving differently. It wasn't even my mind telling me. It was this normal something in me that was like, you know, I need to lock the door. Like, the safety isn't now. So a lot of the time, when young people go through that stage, but obviously because of their surroundings and everything that's going on, they feel obliged that they have to project that kind of gang activity out there. But nobody doesn't want to be involved. Like, even if you talk to young people, they're like, we actually, like, yeah, like I'll change, they always say, I'll change in time, or yeah, they don't want, no one will say to you, I don't think I've come across a young person that's been like, I'm a gang banger, that's all I care about, I want to go and strike people down, I don't care about nothing else. They'll say, you know, we've got, like, I do like this, and I do like that. But, you know, like we're just caught up at the moment. What can I do? So you try and teach them, this is what you can do. Don't get me wrong, there's something you can do. You don't have to be around the same people who are going to drag you down, because, trust me, like, seeing this life, you've got one life, that's what you don't understand. There's no retakes, there's no eject button and put you back in and restart it. There's one life. There's certain people who have been inside since they were 15, they've got like 20 years. Their life's done. Do you want to be that person? Like, that's what you want to write when you're leaving this place. Like, this is what you've done with your life. Come on, man, you have to think deeply in it, because that's not what I want in my life. When I started realizing that I've got much potential, I want to go out traveling, I want to travel with my friends, go in Vegas and act up and go this place, act up and go this place, sit down, relax. Like, when I realized that's what I wanted to do, that's when I stopped chilling on the block. Because the block ain't going to do that for me. No matter even if it can make me money, it's not going to do that for me. My mindset on the block chilling here is not going to have me thinking, I want to be in Vegas, I want to be in here. Because I'll disengage myself from activity and do stuff that's going to bring me more towards my goals. Do you understand? So you have to tell the young people, if that's what your goal, what's your actual goal? Like, because no one will tell you that I want to be gangbanging when I'm 30 or 40 years old, but you want to be still on this turf here, on the estate. When you're 30 or 40 years old, like, who do you see now 40 years old on this estate? You don't see nobody, you see all the young boys. So at what point are you going to change and say, you know what, I want to do something different? So when you start challenging them that, they start thinking, obviously it's hard. Like, and I've always said, like, your social surroundings are one of the biggest things that are going to either make you or break you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're with a group of gangbangers, you're gonna be the next one, and you're gonna stay there until you yourself changes or your people change. Because if your people change, you have no other choice but to change. You're not gonna be there's not gonna be 5 of them that's gone to uni now, and you're still gonna be on the block chilling. You're gonna feel like, bro, you're gonna feel left out. You're actually gonna feel left out. That's what happens certain times when, if 5 of them are gangbangers and you're kind of like the nerdy one, you're gonna try and fit in with them, and you're not even really like that. But you're gonna want to fit in. So if you're around the people who are doing certain things that are positive, you're gonna be a next positive one. So you have to think who you want to be around, because like negativity, it doesn't end well. I've not seen it in one case that I've dealt with, whether it's from people from back in the day or whatever, it doesn't end well. There's been people who've been doing this gang thing, like proper organized stuff. I'm talking about higher level, like, you know, like if it was in America, it would be like some FBI kind of stuff, but we've got our own kind of agencies who deal with these kind of big timers. And then people have done all their thing, they're about 40 years old, 50 years old, they've got caught up and gone to prison for like 30 years. Your life's finished. That's when you're meant to be relaxing and living. But now you've had all your time and it's caught up with you now, 40 years old, 50 years old, gone to prison now. They've caught you up now. Everything. Hit the whole book on you. This is what you've done this year, that year, and they're waiting for you. At any point you could have sat there and thought, you know what, I'm done with this, let me just relax now, man. But you carried it on and they thought, you know, we need to put this person away, and they put you away.
That's why we talk about poker. You know what poker is?
Exactly,
Poker together? Yes. What poker is?
Poker.
Yeah, poker.
Oh yeah. The organised crime unit, the police organised crime unit, and obviously it's a whole different level. You know, tapping phones and listening to phone calls and breaking. You know, hiring ex-row people to snitch and put people's names in the hat. It's a serious thing, man. And one of the biggest things that stops change and stops people from making that change, and I'd say 90% of the kids we work with, or 90% of people involved with gangs and knife crime, they want to change. 90%. You do have 10% who just love it, and they're not going to change. They're going to have to live the hard way and maybe go to prison or die. But 90% of them, like Mike said, they want to change, but pride stops them from changing. Because they don't want to be seen as weak, they don't want to be seen as someone who's a good boy. And unfortunately, the culture that we're living in, a good boy is not popular. A good boy is not cool. And we need to break that.
Do you know what it is? I'll even challenge that because it is cool now. Like, especially around, obviously with certain things, I think too many people watch music videos and think, you know what, we all want to be musicians because they're the cool ones. But being good is actually cool now. Like, being a smart one is actually cool. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of the time, what a lot of the young people lack is self-confidence. They actually believe that they can't do nothing else. They haven't got education. I have no education. I still don't have no education. I educated myself in the certain things that I wanted to do. So that is my profession. That's what I specialised in now. But as in academically, I'm not educated like that. I wasn't really interested in education when I went to school. Like, even when I went to school, I never got kicked out because I was hardly in school. Like, that's the problem. I hardly got in trouble in school because I was never there. Like, I used to act like I was going to school, and then when I used to get like there, I'll go about my business and go and check other people. Do you know what I mean? But as for the confidence, they actually think, like, even when I saw someone the other day, I can tell what was on his mind when I was chatting to me. He actually thinks he can't do it, and I'm like, you know what? I've come from like, and you know, they'll see me because they know my history. They saw me. They look up to me for a certain reason. They look up to me now for the change that I've made because they know I'm not involved in that. But I've still got the love and respect from the area because they know my history. So I'm like, listen, if I can do it, and I was seriously involved. I'm talking about even like you guys. I can tell you lot a little guy. Like, I was seriously involved. Like, I was involved with people from Essex, people from here, people from there. Like, I had big old timers. Like, I'm talking about people you can even say was like mafia affiliated, but in like in kind of like a white kind of environment. Like, then people they're schooling me on how to do things. So I know what it's like, very organized. So I'm saying, if I can change, what makes you feel you can't change? Like, you can change. Like, if you put your head to, if you really want to change, like, you can change.
So it's bonds as well. So if you have a close cousin that you look up to, but he's a gangbanger and you looking successful, you probably follow that vision. If that's what you know, you come from an estate where crime is the main thing to pay people, and if you're wasting time in school as well, so because your influences are keeping your life, you know.
And also it's re-educating. Like, when I was growing up, I used to watch my older people come through, and they had the chains and they had the cars, and to us that was rich. Now I'm in a different type of field. I'm in the business field. I'm in real estate, I'm in property. So when I see what actually rich is, like, you look at these people who are in like some of the richest people who I'm talking about, billions, 400 billion. Yeah, they don't look like that. They don't look like the people wearing the chains and rolling in the cars. That's a whole different type of money. Some money that we'll never eat, we can't even comprehend. So when I look at the people who now are actually exciting me by their money, they don't look like none of the people who I once was looking at. That was small money. We was getting money and spending it all just to look good. Just to look like we had money. So it's a different type of money. The people that are at the top of the top, look at Bill Gates. Man walks around in a little rusty top, bro, and whatever. Like,
it's so simple.
The money has no image. But our thing is the money's image. Like, what looks good, what looks like we got money. So that's what people are chasing. So when you re-educate them about, if it's actually money you want, this is the way to make some real
Right.
money. Forget that little small money there that's going to get you caught up. This is what real money is about. And I'll show you the people who look like they got real money and what they've done. So you have to re-educate their mind, because we was following all the glitz and the glamour and the let's look good, yeah, like that,
And bro,
Gucci chain and whatever.
that is the light bulb moment. Once a kid latches onto that and his ambitions of, you know, remember I spoke about my ambitions? Once my older, who I respect, who's been through the road, shows me that, I'm like, bro, mate, no one ever told me that.
Don't tell me that, of course.
No one ever told me about stocks and shares, bro.
100%.
Or no one ever told me about Bill Gates and setting up a business in the local ends.
And that's what my mentor told me when he come and showed me where he come from. He took me to his house and he's like the, if you think I can dress, he's the real dresser. So I was watching him like, no, you're actually a proper guy. Like, took me to his house. His house is all like not velvet, but it's all mad. Like, when I see his house, where's the tree? Yeah, he's like, yeah, you know how he's doing. Like,
9 to 5.
Look, all this stuff he's got. He's got a watch collection.
9 to 5.
And the people I'm looking at, they probably got one watch and they're rocking it all year. Man's got a watch collection. Open his walk-in wardrobe, like he's got all his clothes around. His wardrobe's put inside of my bedroom. Like walk-in wardrobe. So I'm thinking, right, he said, yeah, like, but me and my wife done this. Like we sat down and had a conversation, like, and we was like, listen, forget all that. Let's put our minds together. We're a power couple. And they done it. And the yard is crazy.
So
Like ridiculous.
From Mike as well, you see the guy with the big gold chain, they probably go holiday 5 times a year. But my realization come was when I was trying to go into my mortgage, and I realized all these people is just blinding you with all these glitter and distraction to do negative stuff. When it comes to reality, signing on and getting them benefits was even trying to track record for me towards prove I can get a mortgage, because how was I paying rent for the last 4 years? How was I paying rent? What was the trade? So I had to even learn to even sign on. And other young people are affected by even that decision to even sign on. And yeah, it's also your drive in life, because they go holiday 4 or 5 times, but they can't even do a mortgage. You have to prove it. You have to prove it.
And to be honest, now even when I look at it, I'm like, you lot ain't even got nothing. Like the people I was looking at them, you ain't even got no houses. Well, even if you do, it ain't no house that you're trying to show off. You lot are still trying to show me your cars that anyone can get. I can walk into a car dealership now and they would love to give me a car. It's a debt to them. Like when I started realizing how the game is and what this image thing is, they want to give you this stuff anyway. So it's not even like an achievement. Like I was even talking about cars the other day. Like go into a car dealership, people are fighting online now to give you a deal for the newest car because they want to sell. Like it's not a big thing, but come show me a house. Like my mum's got 3 houses. I ain't seen, and she come as an immigrant here when she was 20. Like, and she got 3 houses, 2 here and one in Ghana. So it's like I'm looking at the thing like, hold on a second, where the real trap boys who was entertaining us and doing all this fun stuff?
The real
yeah, where you not staying? But the Mumsy was the real one. I should have followed Mumsy now. She would have actually been my mentor and teach me right. But because we're so involved with the flash stuff and we thought obviously Mum's struggling, she's struggling for a reason though. She's struggling to get these houses and to leave something in your name. Do you know what I mean? We were struggling to impress. And now I'm thinking of it now, it is re-educating. We need to re-educate these young people what is real and what is just some image stuff and it's not gonna last.
But I'm coming with bananas and sites of the youth and that about this thing and make the youth them under his order. But technically is just a blind mindset to follow a destructive path that needs re-educating, as Mike said, because we're all making bad decisions. It's so from generation to generation. If you don't wake up and challenge the change, then this guy who everyone looking up to is going on the wrong path. Everyone will go 5 times further like him too. Everyone will get a gold chain and big much like him too. And they ain't got no house. And they're driving the biggest car. But where is that? Mum is really tough.
Biggest car, no house. Even if you come to one bit that I live in Surrey, that there's a road around my area. They got like 2 million, 3 million pound houses. You see the house is ridiculous. The cars are so simple.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting. The cars, they ain't got no big cars. Like they've got the massive. I'm talking about mansions. Like, but the cars that's on the set.
You know why that is as well. You don't realize they want cars that serve them.
Serve them, of course.
Not that they serve.
Of course.
And what do I mean by that? Cars that are going to burn out their pocket with petrol, maintenance costs, tires, and all these different things. They want a car where they put £20 in. They're quite stingy people.
They are stingy.
They put £20 in and it's lasting them 2 weeks. Different mentality still. Rather than we put £20 in a day.
Don't get me wrong. You see the odd person with the Ferrari and the Range Rover weekend, but like I say to my young people, I don't know, you're too in a rush, and we was in a rush.
Yeah.
I was so in a rush. I wanted what my older dogs had. So forget my older, like my brothers here. I want what your big homies have got. So we're rushing. But at the end of the day, if I saw a 30-year-old in a bloody Bentley, or if I saw a 60, 70-year-old in a Bentley, I'm still giving more free ratings. The car is still sick. Like when I see a 70-year-old, I'm like, bro, that car's mad. Like if I see a 30-year-old, same thing. The thing don't change. So what are we in a rush for? We're all in a rush to get it now. There's no rush for it. The goal is going to be the goal, whether it's now or later. Anyway, you still achieved it. So stop rushing to get certain things that are not. It's not even necessary right now. Having a 70 grand car at bloody however old, it's not necessary now. Like if it's necessary, then give me a reason why it's necessary. And you can't tell me. You can't say it's necessary because I need to take my daughter to school or I need to drive to work. Like, come on, that's not necessary. Go get a smart car, bruv, save some money. We'll save how much more money? Because it's not about how much money you can make and spend, it's about how much money you can make and keep. Keep it in the family, keep it in your community. That's what it's about. Build generational wealth. But we don't think like that. We always want to push it out and support we're the biggest, like we're not, I wouldn't say we're the biggest consumers, but we are in some sense. Yeah. Like we haven't got the most money, but we're so quick to get. And we repeatedly buy stuff that we don't need, that we are the biggest consumers.
Yeah, ratio as well, in terms of income spend.
Exactly.
Income spend ratio with the biggest consumers.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just time to obviously acknowledge this stuff and like, you know what I mean? Everyone can't be a teacher, but if you can teach how many people and one person can change, and let that be the change, and they can go on and talk it to their peers, which will be like a domino effect in it. So yeah, it's just time, isn't it? It's just time, because a lot of the time everyone was just too busy with whatever they were doing, like their own family, their own children. Now we have to teach our people because our kids are growing up now. We've got young kids, we've got nieces and nephews, we've got young people.
We wait for all kids now. We wait for all kids growing up. So yeah, it makes sense.
No, thank you guys for that. So now, like, what I want to ask you basically is kind of, so because this workshop is called Challenge for Change. So at the moment, this is what we're trying to speak about and discuss. Can you give me an example, all three of you, of two young people that you remember who rehabilitated?
Yeah.
And why did they rehabilitate? How their story, that's what we want to know.
I'll give you two kids who've had a similar journey to myself. I won't mention any names, just to protect young people. But you know, young people who've been in and out of prison, in, out, and they're probably 10 times worse off than me because they didn't have the family support, and they got institutionalized. They didn't really care. They become desensitized to the whole prison system. But the biggest reason for change was me going into the prison as early as possible to engage with these kids. Both were referred through gangs units, and fortunately I had enough time to go into prisons, you know, at least 3 months before their release, and then I was able to do work with both of these guys and look at the triggers, or the re-offending triggers, which was finance, which was debt, and gang problems. And by eliminating or reducing the risk of those three areas, working with them consistently whilst they're in prison. So that means me going into the prison consistently and working with these guys and eliminating those barriers in terms of finances, debt, and all the problems involved with gangs on the streets. You know, that's mediation and different things. By working through those things whilst they're in custody, you know, for example, you know, writing a letter to the banks or whoever they owe money to, speaking to drug dealers and different people to, you know, maybe squash it or do a payment plan and different things like that. And then also organising housing, so making sure when they come out, they've got somewhere stable to go. And then on the day of release, I met with both of these guys. I met them at the gate. It weren't their boys meeting them. I arranged to meet them and pick them up, take them straight to their probation officers, to the probation officers, and then make sure that everything's in place. So when they came out, everything was set. Yeah, they didn't have to worry about money because benefits was ready to go. Everything was set up. They didn't have to worry about housing because everything was set and ready to go. Now these two things alone are big triggers to re-offending. Yeah, and I can relate to this story because when I came out, my mum gave me somewhere to stay. Not only did she give me somewhere to stay, she gave me somewhere to stay rent-free. And she told me, build yourself up, save, and then do what you need to do. Big help for me, yeah? And two, I did come out to a lot of debt, but I was able to quickly establish what debt was there and contact the banks and get in touch with them and eliminate it and put payment plans back in place. yeah? And luckily, I grew up in an area where I didn't upset people or put people in the wrong place, so I didn't have to come out washing myself and looking over my shoulder. There were a few things, but nothing major like that because I didn't live like that. But these guys who I was working with did have that problem, but I had to support and have those conversations with people and speaking to people who were connected to eliminate those barriers. And luckily that led to these guys reintegrating positively and you know, going on to get jobs and holding down housing. Yeah, the housing wasn't as easy as it should have been because, you know, they're not a priority need, but so they had to go down the private renting route, and one got into a housing association. But those are two successful stories of guys who have rehabilitated. But the work's got to start early. You know, early work support in terms of the social network and family network, and eliminating barriers to reoffending or triggers, and that's individualized. But it takes consistency and holistic work with that person, and that was done.
Just out of interest, so what were the jobs? What did they do?
So both guys got into retail. One got into retail stroke construction type work. Yeah. Big up Timpsons, who helped one of the guys as well. They're really good at those sort of things as well. And weights as well. They're good at what they do as well. So yeah, both guys held down jobs and done well.
So Michael, Russell,
Yeah, so my first one, well, both of them was actually from the same school, the two people that I've got. One of them, I actually met him after I met one of his friends in the crew that I was working in. But he had not been fatally stabbed, but he had been stabbed very severely. I was doing support work. I was a support worker for the school, and I met this young kid. And then obviously when I met him, like our relationship was a bit kind of, I wouldn't say on rocky path, but obviously he came in and saw that I was kind of like, I was a new staff member, and he came in and he's like one of the main ones of the school. He came in and saw that I was kind of like integrating into the school already, like a lot of people were talking about me and so forth. Like, oh yeah, like this cool teacher Michael's here, like. So obviously he's coming on some like trying to suss me out kind of thing, like trying to smell like what's going on. And obviously me and him, I was we used to give a bit of joke, but even he would say nah, like they used to like him, like he was too smug or whatever. But after a while, I kind of got into his story and what happened to him, and I was like, you know what, you've actually got a good story here. Like I've been through similar stuff like you, and I know what trauma it causes, like being stabbed and so forth, like. And it's like, yeah, like, and do you know what I mean? Like I used to work with him like very closely, like when he was getting into a lot of trouble at school, like I kind of like, I would not fight his corner, but I just like sit him down there, because he used to have a lot of anger problems, so he would get very upset and start crying because you don't have to control his emotions. So when he starts crying, it's like he's proper angry. So like I take him away and stuff and talk to him and proper like sit down, because like he's telling me about his dad and like where his dad is at the moment, so he ain't got that much guidance. So like I'll be his guidance for him. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, like I want you to tell your story like to the class, but like in your own way, because he always talks about it. Like he's one of them guys. He's like, yeah, I got stabbed, but you don't tell them what you told me. You don't tell them how you cried when you was on the what's it called, the hospital chair. That you like when you saw your mom crying, like you broke down into tears and so forth, and made you realize it. So I want you to tell that to people, because forget the tough man image, because that stuff don't last. The stuff that you're telling me, that's the person that you are. You do feel emotion. You've cried in front of everyone when you're angry, so don't be scared to tell them the truth and how you felt about it and how you feel now. So I think once I broke that kind of hard man kind of image that he was trying to carry, and he actually done a presentation that teachers were there, like the students were there, and everyone like proper clapped for him. You can tell that he wanted to cry, because I don't think in his life he's actually heard people clap, like as in that was actually good. So for him it was still emotional. Big. Yeah, so I think after that it was like, for him he thought, you know what, Michael, like, you kind of took me out of my comfort zone, and you made me feel like I can actually be myself, rather than being this hard guy that's from like Southwest and I've been stabbed, and you know, I've got these type of people like around me and that. So I think from then me and him grew closer, and then he actually ended up coming to one of our talks. And we took him to one of our, he was there furthermore. Yeah, so he come to one of our talks, and obviously he done his presentation as well, alongside our one, and you saw the response from it, and like you saw how it made him feel for people to actually clap for him and come to him, like as in that was good. Like for him personally, that's better than any road man has ever showed you. Like no one can't show you that on air. No one ain't clapped for you before, or even if you stab someone, no one ain't gonna come and clap for you, and everyone's like, oh hooray, like this is what you've done. So I think when he started realizing what his potential really was, it was like, obviously it was kind of like he was kind of fulfilled, and it was like for him that changed him personally. And like we still talk about it today. He's like, you know what, I actually really want to share my story and I want to tell more people about it. I want to work with young people to like draw them away from it. So for now, he's like away from the gang culture. He don't go around his area and chill with the same people. Like he stopped smoking, he does boxing now, so he's very much on his route to being fully reformed. You know what I mean? He might get into little hiccups here and there, like from like past peers like coming to him and still, because you know what I mean? You don't lose your friends just like that. You just have to keep them at arm's length. So some of them still trying to come and chill with him. And you know, I'm not gonna say you're wrong for chilling with them because they're your friends. Like I still have friends from back in the day when we was getting in trouble that still might not be on the total straight and narrow, but I just keep it at arm's length because that's not what I'm involved with. But you're still my friend. Like I know you, I know your family, I know your kids. You understand? So that was one of them who had changed, and another one was his friend. So one of his good friends, he watched him change because he was such a main figure. He watched the change and was like I said, he felt left out. He was like, hold on a second, like what you doing with them boys? Like what you doing with them boys over there? Like he's posting videos because he weren't shy about it. When he was doing the videos and I'm taking the pictures of him doing the workshops, he's actually taking them and posting them. So his people are like, oh, like, what's all that there? Like, I'm seeing like hundreds of people like clapping and like what's going on here? So I started getting close with the friend again because obviously I used to work with both of them at the Prue. So he started getting involved, and I'll just talk to him and tell him, do you know what I mean? These are the consequences. You know what happened to your friend. You saw what was going on. You was there when you got stabbed. Like, I saw you on the video how you was reacting to it. Do you know what I mean? So you know this is not normal. You don't want to be in that situation again. Like, let's all try and change. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to be the change, you have to be around people who are changing as well. So change. Like, follow him. Not follow him like that, but as in, like, let him teach you something. Don't feel shy if he's trying to tell you what he's doing or what he's doing positively. Like, try and follow it. And, you know, and then over time, he kind of got involved. So at the moment, I've taken him to a studio, and he's making positive music. Like, he still does his drill stuff, but he's now realized that he can speak positively. Like, it doesn't always have to be negative. You can do stuff positively and still have like an impact on people and still feel like we're still like good in what we do. So yeah, that's the second person, which is obviously one of his friends, and I think it was like I said, a domino effect, because he actually watched him and thought, you know what, them claps there, like obviously because he's boasting about it. It's not like he's trying to hide it, he's actually boasting like, yeah, look at this, like, and he feels good about himself. So when you show people this, it's like, okay, like it looks good, man. I like that. Okay, like what's going on here? Like, we should, like, what can I do as well? I'm like, listen, don't do it because he's doing it, but do it because you actually want to do it. So I'll show you how to do it, because the guy I was first working with that done the what's it called, the talk, he's like a natural talker. He talks for a living. Like, even if you meet him, like, yappy. So that's his thing, do you know what I mean? So now he wants to do it so much that he's actually asking me like, oh, when's this gonna come back again? I wanna come and do it. I'm like, listen, you're already there, you've already done it before. He's done it twice now. And he got a response twice at the other one that he done at LCF. He got the same response, like probably even bigger because there was more people there. So he knows that he's got a purpose now. Like, people want to hear your story. Like, the people who didn't know that this is what's happening, want to hear your story. So we can feel impacted from it as well. Because even though we're not involved, we feel that we still got a duty of care to understand what's happening, so we can try and help the situation. So yeah.
So what I pick up from Mike there, and for myself, what happened to me, the ripple effect, and happened to me a Christian. So I think it's continuing amongst our peers. The ripple effect needs to happen, because it's raising awareness, and we've been through it, and do you want your mortgage, fam? Do you want to be something in society, or do you want to be part of that little fraction that is the minority that's been, it seems like a slave system, it's in and out of jail. Like, do you want to go through that? Work for free and pay £10 a week or something? So it's just bringing that awareness. I'm thinking when it comes to our peers, we're getting older. I reflect on what Christians said, we don't even have a group. We're all falling out and drifting on a certain way. And the older you get, when you're in this bad man thing, your moral standards and how you treat your others goes. Even the loved ones who's checking with you, that's why I'm aware of certain bonds. They might like my man, but he's the big man, when he's talking to you wicked, he's talking to you a certain way. And it's just bringing awareness. So the people I've been working with, they probably, some of them are older, but I noticed a recent change, and it's just how we treat each other. being good is valuing each other. This negative spirit is down, is draining, and how you don't even value your brother life, or how they stand your brother that you want to do something bad. So that's a ripple effect in itself. So so I would just say the awareness now is support a young man in terms of he comes to me because, like I said, he's probably seen what we're doing here, and he's involved in that side of things where the older you get, it seems to be more nasty. Where's the friend group that we're missing, you know? So, yeah, you've got them to tell them don't waste my time because the links is there, and it's always been there. So I noticed with these people, the links is there, but man, want to go on track, man, want to go on sign along or go get a work. So the links is further out. We need to create the links for them. We're working with employers, we're working with we got Melissa still in one council, we got the Melissa. We got certain people, even if you got in trouble, they want to give you opportunities. They want to
have
support
that first form of change.
Yeah, they want to, even if you've been to jail, they're going to give you a railway bus driver. If you can pass a drug test, they'll give you a bus driver job. And they don't give you any railways. But if we don't want to make that step, and then if we're so caught up in the hood thing, all this empowerment that violence is the way and not good, then I mean, standing from above, and then there's only the realization that, you know what, them man ain't raping you, them man ain't really rape, man, go always looking to my wicked soul. He ain't rape you, fam. And you love him, you look around, risk your life for him, and the man ain't even rape you, fam. So now it's the ripple effect, it needs to happen. Because the man ain't rape you anyway, fam. He's standing when he talk to you and looking for him, probably using it for the thing. To achieve his goals, but we're using you, fam. So when there's a realization like that, it could help a man because the opportunities are there for me talent is that you're gonna grab it. So when one of the young man, probably over 25, not even young, and we got him into a real mental job. And that's because he decided now he had enough and he wants to stop smoking and make things right. The opportunity was there, like you said, always there, is if man wanna take it. Or want to stay in the block and hustle, fam. And one people please, isn't it?
And you know, it's funny because everybody has their own changing points. Like, I'm sure everybody, us three, like all of us will say different things of what our point of change was. And I say this because I had a guy I was working with last month, and he was always willing to do like what I suggested or what we went through and we thought would fit best for him, but he always got caught up in the friend stuff, so he wouldn't turn up to certain things or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And it got to a point where something happened in his area, and he was attacked by his own friends, and his own friends humiliated him and put him on video while they was attacking him. And after that, now he's come back and he's like, no, I'm actually done now. I'm actually serious now. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, yeah, he was right. They don't care about me. So that was his changing point. Hopefully it was. Now he realized that all this hype that I was going through just to impress my friends or think this was some family that I was going to get something. They don't even care about me no more. They've actually humiliated me, put me on camera, put it on YouTube, and that, like, I can't even go back. Can't go back to his area no more and do this. So that's his changing point. So my changing point was what I said earlier when my daughter was being born and that fatality happened. That was my changing point, or one of my changing points. Because I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a collective of things that come at different times, and it all kind of compresses, and you actually get that realization that, you know what, I'm done. Like, the one thing ain't gonna change you. It has to be. Or maybe it will, I don't know. But for me personally, for me it was different things. Like, I had people, my closest friend went to jail, that was like my brother. Like, that was actually like, I didn't go nowhere without this guy. Me and him would go shopping, we're buying the same things. Like, that's how close he was. Anywhere I go, he's there. Like, or anywhere he goes, he's like, do you know what I mean? Mumsy knows him, knows his family, like, he comes stay at my house. So when he went to prison, I was like, no, I can't deal with this, man. Like, what now? Like, so there was a whole bunch of things that happened for me to actually realize that, you know, this is not what I want. But it was like one thing after the other thing after the other thing. But you know what I mean? Things happen at a certain time when you start realizing that, you know what, there has to be some sort of change. And on top of that, my mentor was obviously teaching me certain things, re-educating me, should I say. So on top of everything happening, I had someone there now to be like, you know what, I told you that this is what's going to happen. I've been through it before. You know what I mean? Listen to what I'm saying. Before you go and do what you're doing, learn from my mistakes. So what I've done, I learned from my friend's mistakes. And I said, you know what, let me put everything down, I'm not involved. Like, and you know, since then it's been blessed. Obviously, yeah, there's been some times where I've been struggling financially or whatever, but still blessed. Like, the finances ain't the biggest worry, bro. Like, I'm still free, I'm here, I've got good relationships with people, even certain people that I used to have dramas with, I see them now, and I'm like, we proper like talk about it. We'd be like, yeah, I see you've changed, man. I'm like, yeah, you've changed. Like, you know what I mean? We're cool now.
The trauma is real. I still have trauma today. It's going. It's gotten better. It's not as deep as it is. Because you get raised. I've suffered so much raised in the past. So it was hard for me to sleep after. I'm probably going closer to sleep after 5 o'clock than before. and I've recently started, so for the last year or so, started getting better.
I know that feeling when you worry about your door being booted off or someone running for your house. But talk about change, 3 things for me was family and understanding the ripple effect and the consequence of the impacts on family. Church, going to church and increasing my morals, building a relationship with God, Jesus, that was a big thing for me. And family, building my own family and have my daughter like Mike. Those 3 things combination for me was that is it. That's like combination change. That's like a gold line change for me.
Also, you have to know that the young people have this it's a big thing to call police to solving matters. So a lot of violence is coming from that as well. You do your own policing, so you do your own thing. No one really, because you don't want to even call that number and look like an outcast yourself. So that's been a massive problem. If your heart's really in it, you're totally anti-police. Even when I first started to work for really talent, it took me years. Michael had to support me that even dealing with police. You know what I mean? So, and then I understand the department we're working with for IOM, they focus on rehabilitation. So I don't really care what a man done. I want to support him with something. That's what I really care about. So yeah, it's this challenge for change, and that's what we're about. I'm trying to go forward. That's why we're 3 young men. We come together naturally because we're all contributing in some ways, and we all want to give our payback. So and that's it.
I hear that, and look, we're going to come to the end of this panel discussion now, though. But I want to conclude on something, and it's a precise question, because a lot of people will not understand, not just because you can speak about the reasons why you turn to a certain way of life, but then understanding the way in which information was delivered to you, the way in which your learning experiences actually took place to turn you to a certain way of life negative, but also to turn you to a certain way of life that was positive. Like, for example, Michael, you spoke about how your mentor came to you. Well, how did he deliver his information to make sure you changed your mind? Because another person could have come to you, and then that person may have not had the same impact.
Yeah.
So I want to now get from you, what is it about your learning experiences that made you turn negative?
Let me kick this one off. So the first thing, because a lady came into my life when I was in prison. She's a white middle class lady, and she took me under her wing and she showed me everything. She showed me how to be corporate, how to be polished, how to speak well, how to handle your back office, the whole shebang. Now, for me, if anyone's approaching me, and I know this is the same for Mike and Russ, it's all about passion. Young people ain't stupid. If someone cares and they're passionate and they're speaking from the heart and they mean it and they care about you,
You know it.
there's something within us that's natural as human beings, especially as young people. Young people are gifted in that department. And you know when someone's passionate, you know when someone's genuine, and you know when someone's speaking from the heart. And when someone speaks to you, especially when they've got experience and they're coming and they really want to see that change in you, that is lasting. And my big thing is seeds will be sown. So the words will be spoken, but the flowers will bloom at the right time. So they may not see the results at the time, and I always encourage us. Yeah, we're getting through to little knuckleheads, but trust me, those seeds are getting through. We're watering those seeds in their ear, and at the right moment, the combination, maybe a child or something else, will combine, and that water will sprout those seeds, and then they'll begin to bloom into their full potential.
Because a lot of the time people ask me, what does it take to be a mentor, to engage with these people? I said, there's no right or wrong answer. Like, the energy for one, like your passion, if they sense the energy, because like when my mentor come, like you asked, he didn't come on no like strategic kind of way he's gonna work with me. I just saw him and I was like, I liked him. Like there was something about him that I liked. Like the person has to like you for one. There has to be something. It might not be something visual. It might be a personality trait or something that they can see that they can relate to or whatever. But because I could relate to and I saw him, I was like, you know, I actually like you, I actually care. Like at first I was like, he's a stranger. But over time when we're talking and we're discussing more things, I thought, you know what, this guy actually gets it. Like, he actually gets us, and he's bringing us involved with certain things. We used to go on like little panel meetings where we would challenge the MP on why they what we need and why we're doing what we're doing. So he was bringing us involved with them things. So we'll go to the council in the chambers and talk with MPs. And we'll be like, yeah, this is what's going on. Like, we're actually like this. Like young people, me and my friend, couple girls, like, we'll be talking. And these are the things that he wanted to put out there. So, like, these are the people I'm working with. This is what they're saying they need from you guys. So, they're challenging you now. What are you not going to do for them? And that's the kind of stuff that I felt was much needed, because no one ain't going to do that. No one ain't going to bring that kind of, them two entities together for people to like realize what is lacking and what is needed in the community for the people to change, or why they're behaving the way they're behaving. So that's what he put together. So when I started seeing what he was fighting for, I was like, you know what? That's proper, because no one don't care. Like, they'll see us doing what we're doing, but they don't really care. They don't even care to come even stop and talk to us. Like, they'll just see us and be like, put in your handbag or whatever. You're not gonna come and talk to us. And we're not gonna rob your little old lady or whatever. And we're not like that. We're very respectful, but we'll do something crazy. Don't get me wrong, but we're not gonna come and attack an old lady. So for the old people, if I see a couple people, like the other day I was out here, after we've done a taekwondo course, and I see two boys, and they were like blowing up a balloon, and automatically I thought they were doing the balloon. So I went to them and said, boys, what are you lot doing? You lot look a bit like about 10, 12 years old. Like, what are you doing? You blowing balloons? And it's like, no, I'm just blowing it up. Obviously, that was my concern. I was saying, okay, cool, but just don't get involved with all that stuff. Like, I can see what you're trying to imitate here, because you weren't just blowing it up, you was inhaling it and do you know what I mean? And blowing it out and blowing it in. So I said, listen, that stuff damages people, especially young people. Don't get into that stuff. You're way too young for that kind of stuff. So for my love of what I wanted when I was that age, for someone to come and chat to me and give me some guidance, I will do that back. If I see something going on that I feel is unnecessary, or I feel I can change them, just by saying, you know what, boys, like, allow it, like, come on, man, like, you lot can do better than that what you're doing, then I'll do that.
And you know where it's not bad, right? Because we're fighting for a cause, and we probably was involved ourselves. So even talking, you might look at you as a little grumble, but you're saying the right things. You're saying the right things, and you're not trying to follow them. So you have to fight the cause and lead by example. You know what I mean?
But there's no way of working with young people. Every client that I've got, we've all got different relationships. So I've got a relationship with someone who just talks a lot and just me and him joke about, but that's our relationship. That's how I engage with him. And then when we're quiet, I'll say whatever I'm saying to him. And I've got one person who we engage well with, like telling me about his parents and the relationship that he's got. We have like a soft relationship. Or have someone that's more, do you know what I mean? It could be anything, but not one is the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're all different relationships. I approach every one of them different. Like, you can tell once you introduce yourself to somebody how they are. Some people might be enclosed, so you'll be quiet. You'll be quite relaxed. Some people that we might see like, yo, what's going on, my brother? You know them guys there, they want to be your friend. But they just want to hold a friend. Like, so we'll be chatting that way. We're actual friends. So I'll come to his level, not speaking like in a provocative way, but we'll be speaking like I'm a road guy, because I want you to feel comfortable with what you're telling me, and I'll speak the same kind of way. So yeah, we'll have understanding now. So he will speak to me like, yeah, man, that's what there. Now I'll say certain slang words that he uses that he understands. You know what I mean? So that's our relationship. So every relationship will be different. So everyone has to feel comfortable with what you do. Do you understand? They all have to understand you and know you as a person, and vice versa. You have to know them as a person, and that's the only way the relationship's gonna work.
I understand. So then, so as to conclude, then finally, when you turned the way you turned negatively, what was it that made you turn that way, and what would have stopped that from happening? How did you learn that? How was it presented in such a way to you that it became something that you wanted to aspire to? And what would have stopped you aspiring to it at that point?
I'll be simple, I'll be straightforward. Mine was a social area, social surroundings. The area that I was in was a notorious gang area, serious youth violence. I used to look out like over my balcony and see so much stuff. What would have changed that? Me not being in that area.
And I think
simple as like the area was so like, listen, my mum had a certain hold on me until I left the house. I was at school, majority of the time I'm out of the house. The social forces that are around me are much greater on me for the time scale that they've got that my mum's got with me in the house. So there was no escaping it. And everybody in their own funny way not everybody was like that, because my best friend, who's not even nowhere like that. He's totally different. He never got involved with that, but he was around them. So maybe, I can't say not being around it, but for me personally and the kind of person that I was, because even if you talk to him, I should say, Michael's like, he was always like that. Like, he was always the outgoing person. He'll come in there like, you know what I mean, the uncles be like, hey, Mike Tyson, wham! I'll start punching people. I was always quite physical and aggressive. So for me personally, that was like a playground for me, seeing all that. That was like my eyes lighting up, like, hey, bit of fun time now. Yeah, what's going on here? Seeing a convoy of bikes going past, I'm like, ooh, I love bikes. Like, how do I get a bike? So I'm intrigued. I want to know what's going on. So for me personally, the only thing that would have stopped me from getting involved with that, it wasn't what my mum was saying. It was me not being around that and seeing it.
That's right.
For me personally, I can't say for everybody, but for me personally, my thing was what I saw was glamorous. I loved it and I wanted to get it.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll just link onto that. Exampleship's key. So having people around you. So you know, the transformation came with me when I started to change my circle of association. I'm big on the circle of association thing. So as soon as I was released from prison, I had my mentor, my white middle class lady, who showed me the corporate side of things. My cousin realized that he needs to come into my life, and he's just a positive. You know, he was on the Instagram live with us. He came into my life. I linked up with my guys here. You know, people around me started to make changes. My family, big part of my circle. They were there. They stepped up their game. They spoke positivity into my life. So my circle of association changed, and in that circle of association was true examples. People who didn't just talk to you and tell you what to do. They lived they walked the walk. Yes, they lived by what they said, and that exampleship is something to follow by, and that's a key thing to follow the transition and make the change.
I understand anybody who's probably drenched in gang culture or want to make a positive change is you could start one day at a time, 1 hour at a time by looking into positive things. You know, you putting aside to go into one meeting today to hear something good to inspire about your life or go to an application for a job. Yeah, so yeah.
So and let me just finish off there with something, because there is something that could have made me change. Now thinking about it, because I didn't have no positive role models at the time when I was getting involved, and I was very vulnerable to all this kind of luxury stuff that I thought was needed at the time. So because I didn't have any of that, if my mentor came in earlier and taught me and said, you know what, you can still get all that stuff that you're looking for, but this is what it takes to get it properly. So because my dad couldn't tell me that because he wasn't there and he had no idea, when he was there he had no idea what was going on, because my older cousin was involved with the stuff that I wanted, because my older brother was involved with the stuff that was happening, I was being parented by the people who were moving negative. So it was like one big umbrella over me that is just putting me towards one kind of way that I was looking for anyway. So the other end of what I needed, it wasn't there. So even my mom's telling me to go to your cousin's house, like, yeah, go with your big cousin, man, like, do you know what I mean? Thinking that he's gonna tell me, he's gonna teach me something. He's there doing what he's doing. He's even bringing me involved with some of the stuff that we're doing. So there was no, I wouldn't say there was no escaping it, but the education weren't there. The people who were telling me to do this stuff were the people that she felt was gonna teach me the right way, but it wasn't. So not a good example. So if there was there, if my older brother was telling me or my cousin was telling me from early, like, no, we don't do that, like, you can't get involved with that, like this, that, and the other, then maybe I wouldn't have got involved with certain things. But yeah.
Okay, well listen, thank you guys. So that does bring an end to our panel discussion today. For those who are watching, if you want to tune in to us on Instagram, you can. You'll be able to get access to this video as well. Chris, maybe you want to speak about the phone line that's open in the website.
Yeah, catch us. We've got all of our social media. We've got a 24/7 advice and guidance line, 0203 479 5344. Instagram, Unique Talent CIC, YouTube, Unique Talent CIC. To be more specific, the Instagram is Unique Talent CIC, and the YouTube channel where you're going to find us today is Unique Talent 4. Twitter, Unique Talent _UK. And again, the number for those who want to contact us is 0203 479 5344. That's a 24/7 advice and guidance line. You can contact us. We're based at Vestry Hall in Mitcham by the Cricket Green, CR4 3UD, if you want to come and find us. Thanks for tuning in. This is one of many to come. We're going to keep on tuning in with different discussions. Stay blessed, stay well. We love you.